Good morning, creative writing cardinals. It is Miss Wall and it's February 22nd, and I just wanted to give you an idea of where we are going this week. So if you see in front of you, you have the screen from the modules page. This is on modules in Canvas, creative writing. So last week we introduced the theater, and the first file is notes on the parts of a theater. So you have a discussion based on an Ed Puzzle video. Okay? If you need to familiarize yourself with it, go back and click this link so you can watch that. Then you have the notes on the theater and the playwright, and you have notes on symbolism in theater and cinema. And then we were so gracious enough to have the chance to read an excerpt from the play called Distance Learning. Distance Learning. And that play introduced us to about 13 characters and just gave us the basics behind set design and everything else. Now, I did give you a document, but as you can see, that document is nowhere near due. It has a due date for February 25th. That's because this week we are going to be designing a stage for the one act distance learning. All right, let's click these notes. I think on this particular document, I do want you guys to download this information, okay? You do need to download that information for yourselves, just so you can have it. But as it says here, this is Unit 2, Lesson 2, Creative Writing Theater Unit, Setting the Stage. So after reenacting the excerpt from Distance Learning, you now have a sense of what a script looks like. You have the chance to meet and play a variety of characters and the symbolic representation of who they were and why the playwright chose to write them. Her pandemic motif proved highly relevant, and each of you students can relate to it in some way to one or more of the characters. Your assignment was to discuss your most favorite and your least favorite, and most of you guys did. Sometimes, in order to convey a better understanding, the playwright creates an over exaggerated character. We can agree, hopefully, that all 13 of the characters were over exaggerated. You know, you had characters whose name was Rules and Re-enter and Mirror and Screen. So it was an exaggeration that the writer was trying to convey. They do this in order to benefit the audience. Theater plots ask the same questions as fiction, but it differs because of the emotions that are expressed. Remember, in theater, things happen in real time. The setting and stage directions are what propel the players forward. Incorporate reality into your stage directions to provide motivation for the actor. That's the difference. Your characters that you've written will need to be conveyed and expressed through an actor. All right, we're still dealing with conflict. You have several types of conflict. Mainly, though, your main character deals with inner conflicts, and he expresses those through monologue and diction with other people and his actions. Like he has to do something with his body. There has to be a running shtick that you see that keeps you motivated. They have different types of conflicts, such as triangular, hackneyed versus fresh, and the usual typical individual versus society. The playwright has to convince the audience of the problems, but the actual actor has to be good enough to portray it on stage. All right, so then we have the fourth wall. So last week when you were learning about the parts of the stage, they told you what a stage looked like. You know where the audience sat. But sometimes we have a concept called the fourth wall. It's an imaginary wall that separates the actor from the audience. The audience can see through it, but the idea is the actor cannot. So when you do that, when a playwright chooses to sacrifice that moment, then you have to be aware of, they want me to get involved. Okay? And I said, think of some examples you've seen where the technique is used. And then I put the example of Will Smith from The Fresh Prince. And when you guys get your asynchronous time, please click this link because Will did it all the time. The Fresh Prince came out in 1990, and I'm telling you, every chance Will got, he would stop, look at the audience, and talk to us. And basically, seeing that on film was transcending. No one had even thought of the concept. So it's really cool to go that route. Check that link out. All right, to go on, the dramatic plot includes this basic situation with a simple struggle and a defined outcome. With you students being the playwrights, you get to determine where you want your character to go. Then it's broken down, those same events that you wrote for rising and falling action, now they are called scenes and they're in an act. Okay? So a dramatist is a person who writes these scenes, but they change or they are noted every time somebody comes in and leaves. That's a new shift. Every time somebody shifts in and they shift out, that's like a play, a scene. That's why they always say scene when you're doing readings or when you're watching on television. Those scenes are usually secondary though. Changing the set used to be time consuming and it used to break the fourth wall when you didn't want it broken. Can imagine you're totally captivated and you're involved in the show, and then all of a sudden the lights dim and then you see people moving around on stage or trying to hurry up and take something off and they're knocking stuff down. That ruined the idea of storytelling. So now in the 21st century, you end up having a new type of director who has already kept that in mind. They don't really drop or close curtains anymore. They do, but it's not as relevant as it used to be back in the day. Directors now build collapsible stages, rotating stages, and raked stages to keep the audience engaged. I've seen it myself with my own eyes. I've been an actor who had to be in a stage like that. It's frightening because you have to learn choreography, like even how to walk upstairs, and how to walk on a stage where it's going to rotate and go in a circle and change places. It is intense. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. The concept remains the same, yes, but like that one that we read last Friday, that one would only do one set if we were actually getting a chance to play. But now we're in remote learning. We're in a pandemic type society. How would we arrange to show that show for an audience when we can't actually be in person? So I'm giving you the topic of designing a set for distance learning under remote learning constraints. I've provided a link for you, a wiki how on how to design a stage set. You will be in groups and you will read through this and you'll get past all these ads and ignore them. But I want you to write down the parts. So you have 3 to 4 parts: getting to know the script, they've got pictures, and then the next part, part two, is designing the floor. So you already know that's going to be different because, again, we don't have a floor set. So you got to think in your mind, how do I design this virtually? Okay, that's the challenge. Number 3 is dressing the set. Now, this we kind of can do because we can bring in props. See that? Select physical props. Each person, based on who their character was, you can come up with some props. We'll talk about it today and tomorrow. So that is the gist of that. That's where that is going. And then it says today we're going to read the section, write down the steps, discuss how to best recreate it using the digital live stream, and then now I get a chance to see who my graphic design students are and who my editing engineers are. All right, our project assignment goal is to present distance learning to POB. All right, I'm excited. I hope you're excited about it. Talk to you later.